You get all the time when you praise me. Any questions? If not, I'll start talking a little bit about issues. One of the major, yes, Charlie, what brought you to the Virgin Islands? You already know what brought you here. What brought me to the Virgin Islands was an airplane crash. Many of you may not know that. And runway 13 right for Kennedy, I was given an improper clearance out of the control zone. And it was a issue of lack of coordination between departure and approach control. I was sent on a head-on collision with a 440 helicopter. I had to go back to runway heading and fly behind a Lufthansa 707. Turned over in Hawaii. And here I am. That's what's got me smart. That answer? You want to hear it again? No. One of the biggest challenges that I have, other than what Jim is talking about, and that is a challenge of the primary, is to convince those out there that this is the time to have a Republican in Congress. When you have a senior Democrat, she will be touting that she's got seniority. Let me tell you how seniority works. When you are not the party in power, the seniority means nothing. In other words, those that are in the Democratic Party are reduced to a light bulb and a closet, literally. Many of these issues that she is championing are issues she could have succeeded when she was in power. In other words, as you know, there was a shift in the control of the Congress. And at that time, if you're a politician, that's when you reach out to those on the other side of the aisle. You make friends. One of the problems she's had is not being able to make friends. Why that is her particular style, I don't know. She's a very likable individual, but when it comes to political and being a political tactician, that is the time you lead and you reach out. This is a role that I have played in the Virgin Islands government for years. When I was in the Senate for 6 terms, I felt I was a lawyer in a divorce court. It didn't matter whether it was the executive branch or the individuals I was dealing with in the Senate. It was always done in a very discreet manner. I always operated behind the scenes. I could have been Senate President 3 times and I refused it. Because if I took it, I would no longer be effective. I wasn't about to gavel down natives for 2 years and become the turkey in the turkey shoot. I was too smart for that. So what I did was I operated behind the scenes and was very effective in bringing people together. The same thing in Washington. Many governors, Democratic governors, have sent me to Washington to solve some of their problems, and the delegate will have to admit it. Because, you know, when you have 2 parties, you've got to be able to work both sides of the fence. Whether it was Governor Farrelly, Governor Turnbull, or this governor. Many times I've had to raise my voice and deal with issues up there, and I've done it very discreetly. I'm telling you now that I did it. I'm not going to be touting this much during the campaign, because I told them that any time I try to help you, I want to be incognito. I don't want to become the issue. In the Virgin Islands, politicians become more important than the issues. And this is something we've got to fight back. Because these are the struggles that we have. We play this individual politics, personality kind of nonsense. And this is why we're right where we are. We kind of think it's the thing to do. But it has gotten us into the position where we are today, where we are struggling just to survive. The biggest challenge any politician has nationally and locally is to develop a consensus. I am pragmatic. I am a Republican that was in the Senate that supported the increase in the minimum wage. That is unheard of. You don't do that as a Republican. But if you see a need and there is a disparity that has to be corrected, I don't care what party I am, I'm going to do it. During Hurricane Hugo, you all remember that you were going through all this gouging after Hurricane Hugo. A Republican does not support price controls. That's not an issue that you tout. But I had to develop a conscience. In other words, I had to legislate a conscience on a business sector that refused to discipline itself. So I did it. Second of all the escrow money that was sitting in banks after you go, you know your insurance money? And the banks tell you, okay, we're gonna release it as you go along, and you prove that you replaced your windows or your doors or whatever. They weren't paying any interest whatsoever. What did I do? I got a hold of the banking board and I said to the banking group and the banking association, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. You've got 72 hours to straighten your act out. You're telling everybody this is a service charge. You're paying them absolutely no interest. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to legislate your conscience. This is not a Republican issue. You don't do this. But I did it. I always do things that I think are right. If I think my party is wrong, I think the Tea Party group are half-whacked in my party, okay? In other words, there's no room for compromise. Today, we have to go for compromise. So when I go to Washington, I will be in the same position as a lawyer in a divorce court. And the other major thing that I will be emphasizing is that in our numbers we have strength. Guam, American Samoa, Northern Marianas, and Puerto Rico are treated as second-class citizens just like we are. So what we do is we go up there and we join together and form a caucus that specifically deals with territory. They have the same problem with SSI, looking at the cap of Medicaid and Medicare. You can go on. We're all treated like that. And I am not about to have us as Americans treated differently than any other American. And that will be my strategy throughout my campaign. I'm not going to go through the whole campaign platform. You guys saw it. I am just like a Canada Energy, and I'll go over that one. It's the number one. I'm taking a position like he is, and I go for, for natural gas, go for natural gas. And I'm ready to take on the bird lovers. Because we've allowed this to happen so long when we can't build a doggone hotel since 1989. And you're wondering why we have no elasticity in our economy. And St. Thomas is doing that much better is because we became the just say no capital of the world. And you have children, youth, that are getting out of school with absolutely no future ahead of them. Because politicians play this game. In other words, putting the private sector against government. That ain't the way it's going to operate with me. I will lose a campaign before I allow that to happen. And I will speak out just like I am, and any one of these folks that want to challenge me on this issue, I will challenge them on it, because I've got the facts, I understand how it works, and I'm not about to sit back with a community that's just about ready to collapse. We are in a situation where you can have a constitutional crisis here. This FY 2013 budget is out of whack by $135 million or more. You've got a situation where your April numbers, as far as projections, are $10 million under. You've got utility rates that are going to go up after this cycle with Hovensa, and we are really in problems. You've got a GERS that's $1.8 billion unfunded liability. You already heard the governor hinting just today on the news, taxes. Talking about subsidizing this system basically out of your tax dollars. Even though I'm a retiree, I don't think that's the way to go, okay? In other words, we got to get our act together, and this program has got to run effectively. We have challenged like never before, and I'm going to close it off the perfect storm. With the U.S. economy the way it is right now, it's just paramount to the 1929 crash. The figures of employment figures were down to 65,000, something like that. They were supposed to be 190,000. You got Europe and you got the Asians that their economies are collapsing. Right now they're talking about $1 trillion subsidy by the United States government to support these economies over there. And then you've got the energy issue. And then you've got our local problem with a structural deficit for 30 years. When I was in the Senate, we were running a structural deficit. All we did was we surfaced for air. What we did was we paid retroactive pay. We brought people back up on step. And then at the same time, the private sector was constricting. Doesn't work. So this is what you're facing. This is what I'm facing as your congressman. So I'm going to start the battle. You're going to join with me in the war. We're all going to try to do this together. I cannot win this election without your help. I'm considered the underdog. Well, I got a real message for you. I am gonna be like somebody that they are gonna be very, very unhappy with. And I expect the Democrats to throw everything at me, and I'll throw it right back at them. You've been in power. The executive, legislative branch of government, your judges, everybody. They've had it. And it's about time somebody like myself and the other two candidates here give an opportunity to try to turn this thing around. Anytime you are voting, it is a crapshoot anyway. In my case, you've got a record. In these cases of these two individuals that have not served, you're going to be judging them on their character, on their ideas, and the way they project themselves. And I am comfortable with both of these candidates. It's very easy for me to just say, I'm running for Congress and everybody stay away from me. Any Republican that decides to run, and these two gentlemen, they got 100% of my support. Only if my support hurts them, and in some cases you have this game in the Virgin Islands, if you're not supporting my candidate, I'm not supporting you. And I told them, you just feel comfortable with whatever level you want to go, but I will not desert these two candidates. They're my candidates, and I'm supporting them. And that's all there is to it. And you can rest assured that any time I have an event, both of them will have full exposure, not to 7 minutes. We'll really warm you up. But these will be at rallies and this and that, so I want you to make sure if you're voting for me, you're voting for these other two individuals. Any questions? Otherwise, I am going to vacate the stand. How about a quiet vote?
I do have a question.